Are the Utah Jazz still elite?
I mean, they're still a great team. Are they elite? I'm not going to say that they're amongst the elites in the NBA because I think that group of teams is very very small. The elite groups in the NBA are the Nets. Obviously, the Bucks. You have to put them in there because they won a championship. And on paper, I think the Lakers, but I still have some reservations about the Lakers, and I just need to see them put it together. So for the Jazz, I think that the Jazz are a top 5 team in the West. I think the Jazz in their season is going to be largely defined by load management and injury prevention. I think the Jazz have to do a much better job of keeping their guys healthy because everybody, we all remember the conversations and they still come up, which is, hey, like, if we were healthy, we would have gone farther, or we would have beat the Clippers, or whatever the case may be. And so what I'm saying is top priority this year is to be healthy. Like load manage Donovan, load manage Mike Conley. Use Jingles the right way. You give Jared Butler, 25 minutes a night because he's earned that in the preseason. He's shown you what he can do. So are they still elite? No, I don't think they're elite by, by number 1 team in the West standards. No, I don't think they're that team. But I do think that they're a top 5 team in the West, depending on how all of this shakes out. Like one of the biggest question marks I have right now is the Phoenix Suns. What's going to happen with this DeAndre Ayton situation? How does that play out as the season progresses? You go and you look at the Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr. won't get vaccinated, so he's not going to be available. You look at Jamal Murray coming off the ACL. What's he like? Then I look at the Warriors and I say, Klay Thompson's coming off of an ACL, and Achilles. Like, he's coming off of a lot of stuff. So what are the Warriors like? So I really think, right here today, are the Jazz an elite team? No, I don't think they're the best team in the West. I don't think they're a top 2 team in the West. They're a top 5 team in the West. That said, that can all change very quickly depending on who stays healthy and who doesn't. Obviously, we saw that last year. So that's what I would say about the Jazz.
Yeah, I wonder how much health changes. I mean, you have clearly more depth. The Jared Butler pick was highway robbery. I think that was clearly, in my opinion, that's the win of the offseason. Free agency be damned. I'm telling you that Jared Butler at 40, when you moved back to get him, to me seems like a home run. It feels like he can come in and contribute right now, which is obviously what this team needs. I mean, this team without Mike Conley was a vastly different basketball team. So, for me, I feel like the big win for the Jazz is, in fact, that, they have the horses now to actually leverage depth.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that's a big deal. And when I look at this Jazz team, obviously it so clearly rotates around Donovan Mitchell. But I'm interested to see this jump shot out of Rudy Gobert. Was that a preseason trick? Or is that something that he can do on a regular basis? Because I think it really opens up the paint offensively for the Jazz to do other things. I think that's a huge storyline. But again, we can have this conversation. We could talk about all these things. I think the biggest question for this Jazz team is, can they keep their top 8 guys healthy all season long and have them at peak condition going into the postseason? Because that's not been the case the last couple of years. They've had a big name or two that have not been available to them for the postseason, and it's kept them, frankly, from getting to the Western Conference Finals. My biggest question is, can you keep your core healthy going to the postseason? Because I think if they can do that, the Utah Jazz can play on any floor with any club. So I think that's a huge question. The other thing is, I wonder how much this bench comes together, because
Yeah.
I think, one of the interesting questions is, how good is the Jazz depth at this point? Rudy Gay is an interesting guy to me. This heel surgery, and everybody says, oh, it's no big deal. He's just going to be out a month or
That's no
so.
big deal.
Well,
What's the problem?
when you're 87 years old and you have heel surgery, it's kind of a big deal, right? So this is a guy that's a veteran. I think this is more a big deal than it's not a big deal. And I'm interested to see, how does Eric Paschall fit into the big man rotation? Is there going to be a young guy that's going to get significant minutes? I mean, is Trent Forrest a guy that you can see playing 20 minutes a night? Because I don't see that. So I look at Udoka Azubuike. I look at, Mia Oni. I look at Trent Forrest. I look at the young guys that you're trying to develop. And Jake, I don't know that I see one of those guys that's going to break into the rotation and get major minutes this year.
Yeah, and I think, to add to that, I think we all know that Quinn just is not real big on playing young guys in the regular season. He's not real big on giving guys like Elijah Hughes or Oni a ton of minutes, and I think, like for Oni, I would guess that he would get some more, more minutes this year than he did last year, but still that's not a lot of minutes overall. He typically comes in defensive purposes. So I just think overall this Jazz season is going to be defined by the health of the starting five and whether or not Hassan Whiteside coming off the bench can be a force to be reckoned with, because that was a problem for the Jazz when Rudy went off the floor. Issues started to arise, and so can Hassan Whiteside beat the other team's secondary big coming off the bench? If he can do that consistently, the Jazz are going to win a lot of ball games. But I think overall, the bench on any NBA team has to be consistent. You got to be able to go to your bench and be able to pull 10, 15 points a night every time you bring that bench mob out, and that's what I think the Jazz are missing. You look at the Clippers, let's say, and we all know and love that bench. That bench comes in and produces. You look at the
Yeah.
Suns, same thing, comes in and produces, gives you quality minutes. So that's one of the biggest things. If you're a Jazz fan, if I had to kind of like put these in different sort of like sections or bullet points on a piece of paper, the first one would be overall health of the team. Can the team stay healthy? How many games has Donovan missed this year? Is he just and are those games that he misses just rest games? Are those just like load management games, or does he sustain a serious injury this year? That's number one. Then number two, yes, bench performance. If you sustain injury, let's say Mike Conley does get hurt, can Jared Butler be a starter? And then can you backfill that? That remains to be seen. And on that point, is Quinn Snyder more willing to play more guys? Is he willing to play 8, 9 guys instead of 6 or 7 guys? That remains to be seen.
Wow.
So
That's a big one.
I think a lot of their injury issues came from the fact that they were tired. Joe Ingles, I love Joe, but the problem was he was tired because they ran his ass down. They ran him into the ground with how many minutes they played him. That can't happen this year. So overall, I just think that this team, I do agree that this team has the talent to play with anybody in the league. I don't think that there's a team in the league that the Jazz cannot hang with or beat, and whether that's at Viv or on the road. I think they're that good. But I really do think that this season will be defined by Quinn Snyder's willingness to play guys that still have something to prove. And oftentimes when coaches do that, you get these great stories of guys coming off the bench and being a sixth man of the year when no one thought they could. So that's specifically what I look for in this team.
Well, I think Quinn Snyder. As you know, I'm a big Quinn Snyder fan. I haven't hit that at all. I think that he's got more weapons now. His hesitation has always been to play young guys, and I think if I were Quinn Snyder, I'd still be hesitant to play these young guys because Trent Forrest, I still maintain, is pretty limited, and I just don't see that Doak has a place on the floor right now on this team, especially with what we saw at a Hassan Whiteside. I don't know why you would play Udoka Azubuike instead of Whiteside.
But like you look at Trent Forrest, that's a great example. The guy's
Mhm.
already hurt, right? The guy's already going through it. So
Yeah.
that's my point. Like like how durable is this team? I mean, we've had commenters before in the past, and maybe someone already brought it up today, but in the past we've had people ask us, do we think that this team is a gritty team? Do we think that this team has toughness? And I say, yeah, they're probably a little light in that area. Guys like Trent Forrest are probably a bit soft, so we'll see.
Yeah, I find it fascinating, the whole Quinn Snyder conversation, because I think there's a large sect of Jazz fans that don't like Quinn Snyder, that frankly would rather have had Dennis Lindsey stay and Quinn Snyder go, which I think is absurd. I still maintain that Quinn Snyder is the right guy to lead this team. Now, if they fall flat on their face, Quinn's probably out of a job this year. But I think he has no problem with that. And I think if you look at the vets that are on this team, I mean, again, I think that Quinn Snyder's the right guy. What can he get out of Rudy Gobert? Because Rudy is going to be the make or break on this team. The defensive liability in the half court, especially in the postseason, is not going to go anywhere. Teams are still going to continue to do that. So the question is, does Hassan Whiteside fill that? Does Eric Paschall fill that? Does Rudy Gay fill that? Maybe to a certain extent. There was, a Jazz fan was tweeting the dunk yesterday that Terrence Mann had on Rudy Gobert. And I say that because every big man gets dunked on. Who cares? The issue is not Rudy Gobert at the rim. If you're going to challenge Rudy Gobert at the rim, I'm going to say thank you very much. Even when you score, I think you're doing Rudy Gobert a favor challenging him at the rim instead of exposing him on the perimeter.
Yes.
Because anytime Rudy's out of the paint or halfway to the corner, you're in a better place offensively.
Yeah, if you said to me, hey, to win a championship, you've got Rudy Gobert at the rim against the best dunker in the league, I'll take my chances with
Yeah,
Rudy.
I'll
You
take
know what I
Rudy
mean?
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're still very good. When I look around the West of the Western Conference, I think it's pretty interesting what's going on in Phoenix. I mean, I think Landry Shamet is a nice addition to that team. I think they're a better team than they were. Chris Paul's health is always going to be the deal. Water's wet. Chris Paul's hurt in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Both thumbs and excuses and your mom, we totally get it.
Right.
Right? Like, you were not good enough last year, Chris Paul, and you and Devin Booker combined struggled in the finals, and that's why the Suns didn't win a championship.
Yeah.
So I think that they're better than that now. I think Landry Shamet showed in Brooklyn that he's capable of scoring, and he's capable of being a guy that can get you a big bucket when it matters. And I think that was a nice pickup for them. I actually think the Phoenix Suns are doing the exact right thing on DeAndre Ayton. I am not an Ayton fan. We've talked about that a lot. I think his offensive upside is incredible, but he's not a strong physical player. He is soft as butter. The guy just is not somebody that wants to bang.
Yeah.
You can get him physically. He'd much rather shoot a jump shot than go shoulder to shoulder for a layup. And in this league, bigs need to be able to bang. And DeAndre Ayton's not a guy that wants to go after it and get it, Jake. So I'm actually okay with what they did with him.
Yeah, I think the only question that remains in Phoenix with the Ayton situation is, let's say that you do let him go into free agency and he's no longer a Phoenix Sun. What are you doing to backfill that? Because the truth is, I do agree that he is soft as a player.
Yes.
But the fact is he made a ton of plays to get you to where you were. I mean, the Jay Crowder alley-oop to DeAndre Ayton to win that game is one of the greatest plays in postseason history in recent times.
I would absolutely agree with that.
So it's like it's this hard thing that with Ayton that I feel like, okay, yes, this guy can really play basketball and he can really get the job done for you. But at the same time, when you needed him most, when you needed him to beat up Giannis, when you needed him to get into the nitty-gritty against the Bucks to win a championship, he didn't get the job done. And so the only question that really remains is, being that he wants a max and you're not willing to pay him a max, who are you backfilling DeAndre Ayton with when the time comes? That's a huge question. And by the way, when contract conversations are looming over a team, that's usually not good news, as we're seeing with, like the Ben Simmons situation or any of these other awkward situations. Just add Ayton to that list. It's just not ideal. That's the thing. It's not ideal. And by the way, it's really hard to get to the finals 2 years in a row unless your name is LeBron James. So I would also say that about Phoenix.
Well, I think one of the things that's really interesting, too, is the Denver Nuggets situation. With Michael Porter Jr. not being vaccinated and likely not going to be available for a lot of games, the Denver Nuggets are not nearly as lethal as they are with him. And what MPJ shows you is, one, he's valuable. They give him a massive extension. Two, without Murray there, he actually did a really nice job of shooting the three, getting to the basket, creating offense. Like, he is a very, very good player, and he's not vaccinated.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about Nick Rolovich coming up in a minute. And here's the problem with the vaccine debate in the NBA and in sports in general. It creates a divide. It puts a line down the middle of your locker room, and guys are on one side or the other. And I think you're seeing in Brooklyn that just about everybody's on the other side of the line from Kyrie Irving. And it's starting to sound like it because in Denver, because Michael Porter Jr. said the other day, I'm just waiting for more research to come out. He's using the research excuse, which has been, obviously roundly panned. He claims that he needs more scientific data.
I think that's HIPAA.
It's crazy to me that we are still going through this. And he says that he will not get vaccinated until there's years and years and years of data.
Well, then he's not going to play in the NBA. I mean, I just think that is it. And I want to be really, really clear on this too. Like, this is not hey, do we think vaccines are good or bad or otherwise, right? That's not the conversation that's being had in the NBA. I can assure you of that. The conversation being had in NBA locker rooms is, hey, man, we're a team, right? Like, I didn't necessarily want to get the vaccine, but I did for the sake of the team. Why are you not getting the vaccine? Why are you not getting the shot? We need you. That's the conversation that's happening. And that's why you see the Nets situation go down the way it did with Kyrie. Because what do we have in that situation? And I think this is really important. Kyrie Irving told the owner of the Nets that he was going to get vaccinated.
I'll take care of it. It's not going to be an issue.
But yet here we are. And so I think a lot of leadership, like a lot of executives, owners, GMs, head of player personnel, those kind of guys are taking notes on the Kyrie Irving situation and saying, hey, if we have a vaccine guy on our team, if we have that kind of situation going down, we're not playing any games with that. And so that's why I say I think you make a great point. If Michael Porter Jr. is not playing for the Denver Nuggets the majority of the time, they're a completely different team, let alone the Jamal Murray ACL situation.
Well, think about where he can't play. He can't play any games in California.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot play any games in New York, so he
Mhm.
can't play the Knicks or the Nets.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, those are a lot, like the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors. Those are all the top teams in the Western Conference.
Yes.
And you start realizing that he can't play against the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Like, he's going to miss some really important games on the road.
The question really needs to be asked, when can he play?
Yeah.
That's the question that has to be asked because more and more, it seems like every day there's an update about, oh, well, this random ass state just put out a vaccine, mandate or whatever saying that you can't be inside or we all hear it in the news, right? So what I'm getting at and what we're getting at here is that the vaccine situation in the league for 95% of the players is not an issue. Most of the guys are vaccinated, and this isn't a problem. But there are a couple, top flight players who are not, and that's going to cause issues.
Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving, and Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
are the three biggest names. And so my question is, the thing that is amazing to me, my question is, where is any of the data that suggests there's an issue with the vaccine?
Yeah.
And this is the ultimate debate. We've seen no real hard numbers. And the vaccine is by some accounts the most studied medical supplement in the history of the world at this point. And there have been essentially, especially with the Pfizer vaccine, there have been no side effects seen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's remarkable to me that we still, when there's this much money on the line, we're still having this conversation.
And that's the other fascinating thing, too. That's the other, fascinating thing, like with Ben Simmons. Why do you guys think Ben Simmons was at Sixers practice yesterday? Yeah, because he didn't want to give up all that money, right? Now, he's not a vaccine situation, right?
Yeah.
That's a different kind of situation. But
That's
my
right.
point just is that with the vaccine thing, it's going to get to a point where you're going to start losing money and you're going to start losing respect and you're going to, frankly, get to a point where you're going to start losing your career. And these guys, I'm telling you, if you said to Michael Porter Jr., hey, dude, get vaccinated or you're never playing another NBA game again, I think he would reconsider his decision to not get vaccinated. Yeah. I really do.
All right, let's get some of your comments. Edgar Garcia, good morning to you. He says, what's up, my boys? James Knight, good day, lads.
What up?
Brylark says, morning, boys. Old Rolovich out at Washington State and Big Ed O not returning to LSU. Could he be going to USC? Can we just stop Ed Ogeron back to USC? That was an abject failure when he was at SC. Like, we should just stop that now. You're not hiring Lane Kiffin. You're not hiring Urban Meyer. And you're not hiring Ed Ogeron at USC. Like, just stop with Ed O back. And not particularly to you, Bryce, but like so many people are like, oh, wow, I mean, no. He had his girlfriends running plays at practice. Do you understand that's part of the reason that coaches and players were so pissed at Ed Ogeron? He had his girlfriends bring their kids to practice, and the kids were running pass patterns with the LSU football team.
Bro.
Yeah, what are we doing? Ed Ogeron's not going back to USC.
No.
He's not. James Knight says Denver are sleepers, in my opinion. There's a lot of people who think that.
Well, I think they're a sleeper every year, but the fact is you can't get to you can't be the best team in the Western Conference at the end of the year come playoff time if Michael Porter Jr. hasn't played 90% of your games and Jamal Murray is,
Again, what's Jamal Murray going to be coming
that's
off
what
of a
I'm
knee?
saying, dude. You don't know. And that's why this Michael Porter Jr. situation is an even bigger deal. I'm not trying to blow things out of proportion, but it would be one thing if the whole team was healthy, right? Even Will Barton's been dealing with some things. So like,
as always,
right? So that's why I say they perhaps more than any other team on the COVID situation list need their guy. Like, they need him. And that's frankly why, like, his performance is how he got that extension. So now to know that he's not going to play most of his games is a problem. That's an issue.
Yeah, Brylark says, agree with James Knight. Nobody's talking about Denver, but they have a stacked team. They're going to give other teams problems. Yeah, you would think, all things being equal. Doc J. Ball for Filthy Casual.
Who the fuck are you?
Okay.
What kind of name is that?
Doc J. Ball for the Filthy Casual.
Okay.
I think that the change of training for Mike Conley will go a long way. Yoga is highly underrated for longevity and recovery. Also, I'd love to see a tighter defensive effort from the Jazz as a team. Well, Mike Conley can do yoga all he wants. The issue to me is not yoga. The issue to me is not dexterity and flexibility. The issue with Mike Conley is DNA. There are just some guys who get hurt. There are just some guys who wear street clothes more nights than they wear a uniform.
Yeah.
That's just who Mike Conley is. And I agree with Tony Jones of The Athletic. Don't play Mike Conley on back-to-backs. I mean, you have a guy in Jared Butler who's capable of doing the job.
Yep.
Don't play Mike Conley on back-to-backs. Why would you? Right? Like, you have to treat this guy like he is absolutely fine china and just be careful.
You need him for the playoffs.
Spencer Morgan says Ogeron is not going to USC. LOL, exactly. Poor Rolovich. The guy's name is Poor Rolovich. Says go Jazz. Okay.
This is becoming a thing on the show, and I just want to point this out. I love that people are updating their names on YouTube based on the stories that are happening in sports. Like, yesterday it was Dax Johnson.
No, Dax Johnson, that's his given name. Dax Johnson.
Bro.
He is here. He says, hey, Jake, has the teacher seen your Dax Johnson yet?
Bro, stop. I'm not, no.
What?
Nope.
And just kind of scruff it and play with it when it's wet.
No,
yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, scruff it and play with it when it's wet.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. Dax?
Yeah, next question.
Yeah, you're going to have to settle down. There's no way, Spencer Morgan says, there's no way Snyder's rotation get bigger with Lindsey gone. No, that's not going to happen. That was a Dennis Lindsey thing, pushing him to play developmental guys. Yeah, I agree. He also says MPJ greater than Jamal Murray. Yeah, I think Michael Porter Jr. is really critical to the Denver Nuggets. And to have him be that anti-vax that he won't play or get vaccinated to play, there you go.
Yeah, please respect my privacy. Next question.
Jeremy Bolton says, love how Rolla Dick is calling religious exemption for the vaccine. Dude is a Catholic, and last time I checked, the Pope said to get vaccinated.
I really don't care if you think it's sus.
Did you? Yeah, right? That is totally sus. That is totally sus.
So out there, dude. Like, you're not a religious guy, dude. What are you doing? Like, just get vaccinated.
Never claim religious exemption in the past.
Bro.
Never.
Like, I just can't get down with these guys who are like, I'm converting to Islam in the middle of the season. I'm going to need 5 nights off. Like, what? What do you mean, Kyrie? What do you mean, dude?
There are just some guys who aren't worth it. And
I don't think the Nets need him to win a championship, but, you know.
Well, Kyrie is definitely one of them. But you look at certain guys, and you're just like, this is not worth it. Cole Beasley, not worth it. Nick Rolovich, not worth it. You're at Washington State, man. This ain't SC. Like, you're not worth it.
Yeah.
You're
not.
You're not worth it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a headache on a baseball team, Evander Kane in the NHL just got suspended 21 games for violating the NHL's COVID protocols. You're not worth it.
Yeah.
You're not worth it, man. Like,
and that's the difference too. Like I feel like in the NFL and in Major League Baseball, the teams are so much bigger, right? Like in the NFL, you've got 50 guys standing on the sideline. Major League Baseball, you've got like what 27 guys, I think it is now. They expanded the rosters to, plus the coaching staff. So you probably got like 40 people in the dugout, that you hang out with on a daily basis. Dude, the NBA is like 20 people. It is a small, tight knit community that you literally live with day in and
look
day
at
out.
the Arizona Cardinals.
Perfect example.
Best team in the NFL, ravaged by COVID right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable.
And
GM, head
still
coach, players. Yeah, and they're still beating you, but it's because Baker sucks.
Yeah, he does.
But the point is, it's some guys just are not worth it. I mean, you can go up and down the list, and I'm amazed by it.
Yeah.
Q Sam says Paul George will win the MVP. I've heard this quite a bit. A lot of people are on Paul George to win the MVP this year. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think, he has to definitively be the reason that they do something. He has to be without a doubt the reason that they get to the finals or whatever,
Is Kawhi becoming injury
a little bit
plagued?
A little bit. Yep. A little bit.
I wonder how much the mileage on his legs. And this is my thing about the Lakers. I mean, I don't believe that the Lakers are old, but every one of their guys has a lot of mileage on the tires.
Yeah, and I think again, like whether it's the Jazz, the Lakers, even the Nuggets with Jamal Murray, I would say, I'm telling you, injury prevention is just as important in winning a championship as X's and O's. It literally it is the end all be all.
James Knight says, I'm not sure Mike played too many back-to-backs last season. Did he? He played enough. Like, the final injury came during the T-Wolves back-to-back.
Yes, in which you got your ass kicked both legs.
Yeah, Dax Johnson says, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, I'll behave, but I've never seen anyone correlate a joke with Dak Prescott in my name. Love your show. It's what we do on this show.
Hey, man, that's just what it is, bro.
We get weird.
Yeah.
James Knight says, I'm betting these guys are vaccinated before Christmas. You would think so.
Like, how long do you hold? Because that's essentially, is it too strong to say, like, these guys that are choosing not to get vaccinated are essentially holding out? Is that harsh? Because I feel like that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
this
is like Le'Veon Bell holding out for his contract. This is like any of these guys making a selfish ass decision to hold out, and not play games until they get it the way they want it.
I just don't see the upside to it. Like, what is, somebody help me understand the win. Like, what is the win if you're any of these guys? Help me understand what the win is here, because I don't get it. I don't see in any way, shape, or form how this ends well for Michael Porter Jr. Because you're not going to play games, so you're not getting pension credit for playing games. Right? You're not making the money on games that you're not playing, because in the NBA they have a policy. If you are unvaccinated and you are not playing games, you're not getting paid for those games.
Yes.
So what's the upside for Michael Porter Jr.? You're not going to play on national TV because, again, you're not going to be playing against the biggest names. Oh, by the way, when you are on the road, not in New York or California, guess what? You're not allowed to leave the team hotel. Yeah. You're not allowed to go out to restaurants and dinner with the team because they're vaccinated and you're not.
You can't do anything.
Like, what is the upside here?
By the way, with Michael Porter Jr. and all these guys who are like, I got to do more research. Are you not some of the healthiest people on the planet? Are you not some of the most well-conditioned human beings that the world has to offer? Are you not, like, in the best shape of people, of the top 1% of athletes in the world? Like, come on, dude. Like, it's not like, I could kind of see it. Before it was FDA approved, before Pfizer was FDA approved, I could kind of get down with it. Like, okay, it's not 100% backed by the government yet. Like, we kind of had to rush this thing out. Like, okay, I get it. It's FDA approved now. There's no questioning it.
So many millions of people have taken the Pfizer vaccine.
What more do you need to see?
And there's really been no negative side effects. It hasn't killed anybody. This is not the blood clot vaccine, like, which they've now worked through. Like, vaccines work, and there really is no side effect known to man at this point.
Why would you put yourself through all the difficulty? That's the thing. Like, and I'm really glad we're staying away from, like, politicizing all this. I like that we're keeping this just like just very basic. Dude, if you don't take the vaccine, your career is literally going to burn down. You're damaging yourself. Like, it is.
You're damaging yourself. There's no doubt about
it.
Brylark says Nets gotta trade Kyrie. Have to.
Yeah.
Harden and Durant were better duo this past year. Well, again, they got to stay healthy. But yeah, I totally agree. You got to trade Kyrie. You have to trade Kyrie. Dax says, I may have missed it, but what's your prediction for the Jazz this season? Really pumped for the season to start. Yeah, me too. Jazz tip off tomorrow night.
Do you mean prediction like win total, where they're going to finish? I mean, I think
all of that. I think this feels like a 50-win team to me again.
Yeah.
50 to 55 wins because you're going to load manage.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I actually hope this team does not get home court advantage because I really want them to value health over wins. Just make the playoffs. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, finish 8th. I don't care. Right? I mean, I think as long as you stay out of the play-in tournament and you're in the playoffs, that's great. You know, like obviously at the end of the season, you're going to want to watch your matchups and stuff, but don't value getting the best record in the NBA because it usually does not mean much. I mean, you lost on your home floor last year. What does home court advantage really mean in today's NBA? Yeah. I don't think it means that much.
Yeah.
So I want this team to be healthy. I would love to see this team, and I think they'll win 52 to 55 games. I think that you are looking at an MVP-type season for Donovan Mitchell. I think he won't win it because it's very tough to win it until you win something. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get into the MVP race, which I think on the floor quality-wise, he will as long as he stays healthy. But yeah, if all things remain equal, they win 52 to 55 games. I think that this is the year that they have the talent in the roster to really make a run toward the Western Conference Finals. And from there, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah,
it really is a crapshoot. Again, I'm just going to say, I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to win the championship. I think that at some point, whatever happens with this Kyrie deal, he either gets vaccinated, and they're even saying if he gets vaccinated that he's broken the bond with his team, his ownership, his front office. Steve Nash apparently is frustrated with him.
Yeah.
I think they're going to move him no matter what. So my feeling is that would be good for them, and I think that they'll wind up winning a championship.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think the biggest thing that you have to remember is look how far Kevin Durant, can take a team basically on his own against what ended up being, the championship team in the Bucks, right? I mean, you're talking about Kevin Durant being less than an inch away from beating them on a jump shot. So I think my point here is, yes, Kevin Durant's awesome and everything, but this team is just better than basically any team in the league when they're healthy. That again, I know we started the conversation off with health is paramount, and it really, really is, because when these teams are healthy, there's just no debating that they're better.
Yeah, it's interesting. Health is such an unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Health is so man to man. It's always fascinated to me. It's whether any sport you play, there are just some guys who can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Let's get some more of your comments in here. Jeremy Bolton says, how about Evander Kane from the Sharks getting suspended 21 games for faking a COVID card?
Yeah, dude. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, Evander Kane has been a huge problem for many years. Many, many years. Eric and Raleigh says, top of the morning, gentlemen. Eric, good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, how was your summer break? I saw on Twitter that your bio says back from summer break. So how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, I hope you're well. James Knight says, I'm not sure Mike played too many back-to-backs last year. Truth. Let's see. James Knight says the eventual financial and social pressure will win out in the end. You would think so. Eric and Raleigh says next man up. If they don't want the vaccine, they can get out of the way. Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Eric C says they don't even watch Jazz games though. Who are the Jazz? Like, oh, you mean like the instruments, like a trumpet or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
So. A trombone.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Karl Malone's going to have a pretty good season this year.
Yeah.
But I heard he might retire after the season.
Darn.
We'll see. Eric and Raleigh says, I can't imagine why the Nets or any other team would want Kyrie and his headache issues. His head case issues, excuse me. Yeah, he's a pain in the ass.
Yes.
I mean, he wrecked Boston. He divided Cleveland. He's gone to Brooklyn now and wrecked and divided Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty remarkable how high maintenance that guy is. Like,
where does the Kyrie train go next?
Yeah, I just I don't know. Eric C says, which bowl game are the Aztecs going to, Monty? Probably yourmom.com.
Bet you weren't expecting this one.
Yeah, I'm thinking it is the Poolin OnlyFans Bowl.
Just so you can go to Pound Town.
Shake your pyramid. You know, it is what it is. I love the NBA.
Yeah.
I do. I don't have a favorite team. Two people have asked who my favorite team is. I grew up in Chicago. By the way, the Raging Bull is on the wall today. Air Jordan 5.
His Airness.
They call it the Toro. You know, I'm a Bulls fan, I guess, if I was one team. But I'm more of a fan of players. I mean, I want to procreate with Devin Booker, you know, preferably his girlfriend because she saw it. But I am more of a, like, my favorite player is Devin Booker by far. You know, but I'm a casual observer. Obviously, I watch every Jazz game. So how do you not root for a team you watch every day? You know, like, but I enjoy watching the Nets. I like the Lakers. I like watching the Lakers, especially when they lose. I'm interested to see how long LeBron can hang on and gravy train some money out of the Lakers.
Yeah.
He should retire soon. I'm interested to see how he does at the power forward in all seriousness. I'm just, you know what? I'm not a LeBron guy. I've
Nope.
never been a LeBron guy.
Oh,
I just think he's a really good player that just doesn't win enough for me. Like you're talking about and win enough. The guy's got multiple championships, which is all that should matter. But when you go to the finals as much as he has and you lose as much as he's lost,
70% of the time.
you can't be the best player to ever play the game. You just can't, especially when the other guy that you're compared to is undefeated.
In less opportunities.
So suck it. But other than that, you know, I think again, the NBA has become a Western Conference league.
Yeah.
I think there are far more storylines in the West. I don't think the Bucks will repeat. I think Milwaukee, you know, although Giannis with this jump shot now has been remarkably consistent.
Here's the thing that nobody wants to admit. Last year was a fluke year in the league. A lot of teams didn't have their full assembly of players. A lot of teams were, you know, 50%, you know, and so when I look at the path that the Bucks had to take, it really wasn't that difficult of a path. I mean, the toughest team that they ended up facing was the Suns. I mean, let's put that into perspective. Like the Nets series was definitely physical, but I felt like overall, you know, toughest series was the Suns in the finals. And so I look at the Western Conference now and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what are, I'm telling you, the Warriors are going to come out and they're going to be a thing. I just firmly believe that. I feel like Clay has had 2 years, 2 full seasons of not playing to get his body into phenomenal shape and to really, you know, do it the right way, which I think is crucial for comebacks. So, like, I would expect big things out of Klay Thompson this year, and I think Steph Curry is going to have another MVP level season. I just truly believe that. So when they're the same team that they were when they won a championship. So I'm telling you, don't forget about teams like that because they will make a lot of noise.
Yeah, and I wonder, you know, who's going to be the emerging team in the East. I mean, are the Wizards any good? That's to be determined. I mean, they're going to be better without Russ, I think.
I think it's the Bulls. The Bulls are the emerging team. You know, you add that talent, you do some things. They're definitely going to be a playoff team, no doubt about that.
All right. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Final win total for the Jazz this coming season.
53. I think it's 53.
I'll say 55.
Okay.
55. Do they win the Western Conference
No.
championship?
Oh, no. I don't think you win the Western Conference championship this year.
Do they go to the Western Conference finals?
I think that's a distinct possibility, yes. But I don't know. I have a tough time seeing them beating a fully healthy Lakers team, a fully healthy, you know, Nuggets team, Clippers, the Suns, the Warriors. Like
the Warriors are one of the most fascinating unknowns in the NBA.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you, like, you know, remember who we're talking about here. Organizationally speaking, we're talking about an organization that basically cultivated, you know, what, 2 championships out of the draft, and then you added a third with KD, right? I think that's the setup. So, I mean, they revolutionized the league with Steph Curry. So if there was any organization that could take a guy who blew his ACL, then blew his Achilles in the ACL rehab and get him back to where he needs to be, it would be the Warriors. So that's why I say I just don't have any doubt that they're going to be back.